America is about to find itself in the grip of yet another trial involving law enforcement allegedly taking matters into their own hands, costing the life of an unarmed man. But that is merely another chapter in the American tome to be written about cops and citizens. Cops believe they're being targeted. The people they serve believe they are the targets. Either way, we're faced with an American city that's been tossed into the garbage pit by politicians and those who claim they can solve it all. This case will force everyone to look deep into that societal gutter, and even within their own souls. I'm Ed Berliner. Stop turning away from the facts. Stop allowing others to hype the facts. This is the fastest 60 minutes in news talk. Let's take a hard line for Friday, May 1st, 2015.
It is absolutely vital that the truth comes out on what happened to Mr. Freddie Gray.
His leg broken, y'all dragging him like that.
We have brought the following charges: second degree depraved heart murder, involuntary manslaughter, manslaughter by vehicle by means of criminal negligence, assault in the second degree, misconduct in office, false imprisonment, intentional, assault in the second degree, negligent, misconduct in office.
The process has started. That's the main thing. The process has started. So many people in the neighborhoods that you have been filming over the last few days. I think somebody said it a little bit earlier. Bishop Thomas, I think, said it. They've never seen a victory. They've never seen a victory. And they have begun to believe that the system could not work for them.
To the people of Baltimore and the demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace. Your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of this young man.
White, black, Hispanic, or any color of the known rainbow, people across America are living in fear that law enforcement will drop the hammer on them or someone they love for no good reason. And the next step for that citizen will be a body bag. But there are plenty of cops who will look you in the eye and tell you they are the ones with the real targets on their foreheads, and that hammer has to fall because the people they are sworn to protect are far too often seeking to murder and plunder with no thought of human life. Indictments in Baltimore of 6 cops. We've reached a major turning point in our societal evolution. But are we fooling ourselves that anything will really change? Our guest is Professor of Criminal Justice at Centralia College in Washington State. He's been boots on the ground in law enforcement more than 25 years, served his country in the Army, graduated from the prestigious Officer Candidate School. Let's welcome Professor Gregory Gilbertson to the Hard Line. Professor, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Professor, what was your immediate reaction when you heard that the cops had been charged?
Well, I thought that those indictments were a long time coming. I really was glad to see that those officers were charged.
Long time coming, though. Why is that? Is that simply just in the investigation phase, or the fact that we know that Baltimore has a long history of issues with their citizens?
Well, it's inexcusable for anyone in police custody to suffer the types of injuries that Mr. Gray suffered. That just doesn't pass the smell test. And for that man to suffer the injuries to his spinal cord that he suffered, it's just inexplicable.
Let's look at it from the investigative side, because so many members of the media and the public were screaming for something to be announced as quickly as possible. Your experience in, is it not fair to say that things like this take time? The cops and the DA wanted to make sure they got it right the first time when they announced this.
Well, I'm sure that's true, and investigations do take time, and you don't want to rush to judgment. However, on the other hand, I think that the city of Baltimore did a poor job of communicating with the public regarding the status of the investigation, the fact that an investigation was ongoing, and that they were taking this matter as seriously as they have taken it now.
From what you see, in your opinion, do you believe that the City of Baltimore Police Department did an honest and thorough investigation here, or do you think that they might have been trying to cover their own derrieres?
Well, I don't want to make a judgment on that. I just think that they should have done a better job of communicating the fact that this was a very suspicious matter, that these officers were under extreme scrutiny, and that they should have kept the public better informed and informed also of the progress they were making in the investigation. And if they had done that, I believe that a lot of the violence that we've seen in the last few days could have been avoided.
Do we need to start looking, though, at a lot of root causes here, and let's go back to the reason why Freddie Gray was stopped. There was apparently what the cops thought was a switchblade involved. He had a pretty long rap sheet, so he was in an area. They figured that they would stop him. Look, let's be honest. There's a lot of people who say that you're stopped just because you're black in this country, and people wonder if cops anymore really know the reasons why they stop a lot of people in certain neighborhoods.
Well, I think that's a huge problem, and I think you put your finger right on the issue that a lot of times police officers are stopping individuals with no reasonable suspicion. And that's the burden of proof. They have to have reasonable suspicion, a perception or belief based upon their observation of guilt-laden facts or their special knowledge that some type of criminal activity is or may be afoot. In the situation with Mr. Gray, my understanding is he was just walking down the street, made eye contact with the police officers, and then began to flee the area. Running from the police is not a crime, but it has been criminalized. There's lots of things, lots of behaviors that are not crimes that police officers seem to criminalize and pursue overzealously.
Then who allowed this to get out of hand? The politicians who run the police departments, the police commissioners, the beat sergeants, the cops themselves? Look, somebody had to basically allow this floodgate to open and still allow it to stay open.
Well, it's not just a problem in Baltimore, it's a problem nationwide. As an expert witness, I get cases of excessive force, false arrest, police brutality every week from agencies all over the country and throughout the Pacific Northwest. And this is a problem that's rampant nationwide, and it's a leadership problem. It starts at the first line supervisor, and it goes all the way up to the chief of police, the sheriff, the commissioner, or the police commissioner, whoever the agency head is. And there needs to be more aggressive, more proactive, hands-on supervision of police officers on the street, on their beat.
That blue shield does exist. I mean, no matter what you want to call it here, but in every police department across the country, there is still that line, cops protecting cops, even on the little things here. But we've got to admit to ourselves, and the cops need to admit it as well, that still exists, yes?
Yes.
But if we then admit that it exists and it continues to exist, how do we dig into this and how do we change this culture? Because cops right now are becoming more militant than ever, while citizens are becoming more violent than ever themselves.
Well, that's true. And so you have a very volatile situation. You have cops that are police officers, some of which are overzealous, overly aggressive, have no regard for the Constitution or the constitutional rights of individuals in our society. And then you also have thugs that are also quite violent and have very little regard for the safety of police officers or private citizens. So it's a very volatile situation. But at the end of the day, the police officers have to play by the rules. Criminals, by their very nature, don't play by the rules. But police officers have to play by the rules, or we devolve into a police state. And
are we devolving then, in your opinion, into a police state right now?
In some instances and in some locales, I believe we are. Yes, I really do. I believe that some police officers are now criminalizing people or individuals that try to exercise their constitutional rights. And I think that they are that's a very dangerous and very slippery slope that we're heading down.
Professor, I only have about 60 seconds left. Here's a chicken and the egg question. What comes first, cops overreacting and becoming brutal, or citizens turning violent and going after the cops?
Well, I think you see both. And I don't mean to give you a cliche answer, but I think that you see both. And I think that oftentimes police officers do overreact to a perception of a threat. They do overreact to citizens that perhaps are not willing to comply with their directives immediately, or that are exercising what they consider to be their free speech rights. So it's a problem. It's a very big problem, but it's a problem that can be solved through aggressive, proactive, hands-on supervision, beginning with first-line supervisors on the street and going all the way up. But it's a leadership issue, and it's a leadership issue that needs to be addressed.
15 seconds. Does that leadership then have to come from a federal police force or somebody who is involved on a federal level from making sure that every department toes the line?
No, I don't believe so. I think what the cities and municipalities have to do is they have to aggressively search for dynamic leadership. When they're looking for a chief, when they're looking for supervisors, they need to seek out those people that are, true leaders and have the moral authority and the moral courage to go out and get the job done.
I think the two words you said in there, moral courage, are perfectly put. Professor Gregory Gilbertson, thank you so much for joining us. We'll look forward to the next time.
Very good. Thank you, sir.